I'm Belmont Freeman. I'm an architect in New York City. I practice with the firm Belmont Freeman Architects. It's my own firm that's been in operation for about 25 years. I also teach at Columbia University. I teach a design studio within the historic preservation program, which combines modernism with historic preservation. And I'm quite passionate about Cuban architecture and wanting more people to know about it, to understand it. My particular area of specialization is in Cuban modern architecture, and most particularly the architecture produced in Cuba after the revolution. And it's a great art historical and architectural historical story that's to be told.
Another one of the remarkable things about Belmont Freeman is that he's an active writer. He writes about architecture, and he in particular writes about and curates and has curated about the history of architecture in Cuba. And that's really what drew him to my attention.
I was kindly invited by Jennifer Jolly, who had heard one of my talks at a symposium a few years ago and had followed some of my writing on the subject.
They also wrote a catalog which I can't tell you how excited I am about, because there is really still such a limited writing in English on Cuban architecture of the period, and it really is dominated, what exists right now has really been dominated by a very select and narrow view of what Cuban architecture is about. And so I found it incredibly eye-opening when I got to hear Belmont Freeman speak a number of years ago.
In 2004, I co-curated with a colleague in Havana, Eduardo Luis Rodriguez, who is the principal scholar of Cuban architecture in Cuba, and we're presently about to publish a book on the subject.
It's actually a little bit like my culture. Back home, I'm from Nigeria, and like the architecture is quite similar.
It's highly topical, and it's also time for people to get a better understanding of the accomplishments of the Cuban Revolution, what's happened in Cuba in the last 50 years. So it's very timely for me to come and be talking about this subject here at Ithaca College.
It was nice to hear about a sect of architecture that has not really been addressed from an American perspective in a long time.
I always love introducing people to the Cuban architects of the early revolutionary period, because it's invariably, people's eyes pop out when they see the amazing work that was produced, and this gives me satisfaction to sort of spread this knowledge.